Yeah, a bit cooler than we might like, but thank you very much indeed. Now, while the men suspected of planning to blow up passenger planes are all British nationals, it seems their arrests were the result of a complex international investigation.
Well, let's talk more about it with the BBC. Morning, Gordon. Morning. We've been getting new developments actually out of Pakistan this morning, haven't we? There have been more arrests than even were initially thought there. Tell us, the latest arrests that we've heard about, that they were British nationals in Pakistan.
It is very significant on many levels that there have been the arrests in Pakistan, because, as you say, the exception has been that hasn't always been the case. Do your sources suggest that, in fact, this cooperation is now working well?
Yes, very much. We're actually going to be talking more about the impact of all of this with Alice Beer, the consumer journalism. She's going to be here shortly with some advice for you if you are planning to travel.
Yes, trying to make that journey as easy as possible for you this morning. Now, it is 8:49 and a slight change of pace here. Here's a taste of something coming up on breakfast next week. What have Liza Minnelli, Bill Clinton, Dolly Parton and George W. Bush got in common?
No, I can't think of it either. It's not a love of Broadway musicals, I can tell you. It's something much more socially relevant than that. So, to solve the riddle, someone else who shares their trait is the former editor of The Sun, Kelvin Mackenzie. He can reveal all. There you go. That's happening next week, so do look out for that.
Yeah, we, of course, are not baby boomers.
No.
Well,
I'm definitely not.
Some are.
I didn't want to.
Definitely not, but anyway. Now, back to the story of the terror alert, of course. You've been sending us your concerns and queries for the best advice on travelling on, or if you were caught up in the disruption caused by yesterday's anti-terror measures.
Well, the consumer champion, Alice... Hello, this is Breakfast with Michael Peshard and Joanna Gosling.
Our main story this morning: the UK's terror alert remains at its highest level this morning as 24 people continue to be questioned over a suspected plot to blow up several transatlantic planes.
Overnight arrests and that alleged plot are having a very visible impact in terms of the effect on flights. Let's go to Heathrow. Matt Prodger is there for us this morning. Good morning, Matt. How are things looking? Thanks very much indeed, Matt Prodger at Heathrow.
We are doing our very best to help anybody who is travelling today. So in a few minutes we'll explain the options you have if you're one of the hundreds of thousands of people who have suffered from a flight delay or cancellation. We all know what it's like, with the help of the Holiday Hit Squad presenter Alice Beer. And
just one other development to bring you this morning. The American Embassy in New Delhi has warned that foreign militants might be planning attacks in two major Indian cities.
In other news, there's been renewed fighting in Lebanon between Israeli and Hezbollah forces overnight, including...
Hospitals made more than 40,000 mistakes in giving people medication last year, according to the National Patient Safety Agency.
New breast cancer drugs have been given the green light for use in treating the illness.
More than 110 people have been killed by a typhoon.
Democrats are outlining new proposals on tax. The party...
Growing numbers of children are turning their backs on studying physics because they consider it's too hard.
More on those stories, of course, throughout the day on News 24. Time now for the sport. It's not all the terror alert, of course. There is a new England captain. Hello, Rebecca.
Hi, Michael. Hi, Joanna. Good morning. Yeah, we do indeed have ourselves a new England captain. It was announced yesterday afternoon. It is to be John Squad for that friendly against Greece next Wednesday. According to The Sun, David Beckham is going to be dropped, and that would be for the first time since he made his debut 10 years ago.
Very interesting indeed.
Yeah, we'll wait
this afternoon we have to look
This afternoon, yeah, keep your eyes open.
Yeah,
Thank you, Rebecca.
I'm sure. Well, what is traditionally one of the most popular weeks for taking a flight to or from the UK has become one of the worst weeks following the disruption caused by that terror alert, of course.
So if you have missed your flight or even had it cancelled, or perhaps the luggage you had to put in the hold rather than carry on with you ended up damaged, what can you do about it? Well, we have been investigating on your behalf.
If you were held up at the airport yesterday or were not able to fly at all, are you entitled to any money back? The rough summary is many airlines will offer you a new flight. That's not too bad, but there's unlikely to be compensation, and your travel insurance may not pay out either.
Well, if you're...
A lot there, isn't there, to digest. Now, Sean Tipton is from the... I'm very happy to say, joined us in the studio. Sean, if I can first ask you, we've gone through all of the rules. it's fairly complicated. In there for many hours.
At least
do you have
5
to sort
or
of
more.
log in, as it were? I mean, how can you prove that?
Yes, well, you have to check in, obviously,
Yeah.
on the normal way. But again, if the delay is 5 or more hours, you can just say, that's it, I want to go home, want my money back.
But that's only after you've checked in. If you're waiting
Exactly.
outside for hours, as some of us have been, that doesn't count.
That doesn't, unfortunately. No.
And what about that advice, Stephen, to people not to travel unless absolutely necessary? If people do make that decision then not to travel because they don't have to, they're not from the airlines.
Well, if it's advice that's coming from the airlines, then you...
The reality is that even if under the insurance scheme you are covered, the amount of forms that you have to fill out, it's all...
In this situation, it's more a question of, again, either an alternative flight or a refund of the money.
Flights themselves at the moment, what about your stuff? I mean, people are having to put very valuable stuff in the hold that they would normally carry on the flight with them, and there are lots of concerns, as we've been hearing from the many people who've been getting in touch with us this morning, that any compensation that might be forthcoming if things get lost will not be anywhere near enough to cover what's been lost.
The problem you have with the travel insurance policy side of things is...
horribly complicated situation, but obviously it's something we're all going to have to get used to. Thank you two, for coming in and trying to explain, and obviously people who are travelling today have a lot to look into.
Yes, thank you very much, and we will, of course, keep you updated. Now, though, let's join Louise Whitlear for a weather update, because it's all getting suddenly rather cold, isn't it, Louise?